Hello, everybody. This is Edgar Fernandez, and welcome to my podcast, The Experiential Knowledge Solutions. On this episode, we're going to talk about the two main problems on companies that companies have regarding non-compliance with the FDA and why they are getting forms 483. I explained that on my two previous podcasts, the reasons why, but I was focused more on hazard and risk assessments. And here actually says that in this article that was published by McKinsey and consulting companies, they are explaining in 2015 the two reasons why. And actually I want to share with you um, these two reasons. And actually yesterday, the Capsules and Tablet published an article of transfer technology documentation, and it was very interesting because the person who wrote the article, and it's very recommendable, you can read it. Um, it's emphasizing on an quality risk assessment to be included on the transfer technology package. But this article that I agree caught my attention, and I agree 100% with this paper. It's more than technical knowledge, and quality is more than technical knowledge and compliance, and it's more about the culture, because if we see the analysis of the uh, of the report from the CGMP trends of the top 10 citations for the fiscal year 2018, really hasn't changed a lot in the last, I would say, 10 years. It's the same. People not, companies not updating documents, doing manual changes and not updating the documents after incident investigations, not following a methodological and scientific method, not finding the root causes, not prescribing preventive actions, not closing corrective actions, etc. And and there are two reasons actually. The article, it's called "Don't Let These Two Quality Nightmares Keep You Up at Night" by McKinsey and Company. And these two actually, I totally agree. And one is we are busy assuring compliance and being in compliance. Actually, we companies get nervous about that compliance and they want to comply 100%. What I want to try to say, it's we are more reactive than proactive. But it's not about the compliance system. Don't get me wrong, compliance is very important, and whatever your compliance officer says needs to be done. However, we need to focus more about the culture, the company culture through quality. So how we performs, and how we keep everybody with the same knowledge, and how can we encourage people to update documents, etc. Last week, I presented the same topic at the ACUM and the ASQ and PMI chapters in London, Ontario. And one of the members of these chapters, he asked me a question that I totally agree. He said he was saying that 30%, around 30% of no 60%, sorry, of the people who are between 25 and 30 years old, they don't read. So at that time, actually, people get excited and say, well, that is a very unfair statement. But it's not, because he wasn't referring to illiteracy. He was referring to people who actually they don't read nowadays. I mean, they are more focused on the cell phones and electronic devices that is causing lack of attention, um, lack of focusing, and lack of retention. So how we can do that, how we can actually revert that and tackle that problem that is really is a real issue nowadays in our society. Well, I remember when I was working for Wyatt in 2003. the quality department actually started making procedures on the way that doing like a flow chart. So they were developing the procedures in a flow chart mode. And actually, we were discussing this on the chapter on the lecture that I was giving on last week. And actually, one of the guys, one of the public, the attendants, they say that they are using the same. And for each block, they can assess, they can perform hazard assessments in each one of those steps. That really, really is great because that is also lean manufacturing. So you can transfer the lean process or the lean principles to procedures, and from there you can assess each one of the steps to reduce non-conformances and make sure that you are in compliance with the quality, and that it also helps to um, develop and increase the quality culture in your company. So don't focus on compliance only because you need to comply and then make more procedures in top of procedures in top of procedures, and actually and then investing more in compliance when you don't need to do it. Actually, the thing that you need to do it is to go. You need to step back, get out of the box, and think what you need to do. This is one tip actually that we were discussing last week. Last week we were discussing, okay, do your procedures in a flowchart manner, assess each one of the steps on each block of the flow diagram, and that's gonna help you and gonna help them as well to understand what you want to achieve, and you're gonna reduce non-conformances as well. Because really, this problem of not reading is a real problem actually, and it's not my perception; it's a perception of many. And actually, you can look at or search for what is the consequences of using too much your cell phones, and and there is a lot of studies nowadays about psychologists that the problem is lack of retention, um, lack of attention, and lack of concentration as well. So it's a real problem. So we need to live with that, and we need to find a solution. And I'm sharing with you what the other people they were proposing that day. And the second problem actually here on the that I'm seeing on the on this article is regulatory enforcement pulls you behind your competitors. So one of the things is they're saying that basic compliance is not good enough. Um, but there is another critical problem actually, and I totally agree. It's this article saying it's that many of the companies ignore practices that treat product quality. So, in other words, what's gonna be your practices at your organizations that are gonna treat quality? Or one is, for example, what's gonna be the practices on your organizations that are gonna drive safety? And actually, there is nothing very real. There are basic and general information on McKinsey and Company site or on FDA or any other consultants they have that information. But at the end, to be honest with you, those practices they need to be defined by you. You can use, for example, the standards like the ISO 9001 version 2015. You can use the standard, the ICHQ 10 quality management system in the pharmaceutical industry. But that's gonna be a base to start developing your own practices. So the standards are gonna give you the basic, but you need to develop those practices according to your culture and according to the industry and the type of people that you are that they are collaborating with you. That's the main thing here because on their assessment they have found, for example, the people, the companies they don't know how to perform or conduct an incident investigation to find root cause analysis. Um, Actually, they said that they don't know how to assess suppliers, um, fail to meet basic compliance requirements in design controls, for example, complaint investigations, CAPAs, and other quality system elements that result on the FDA enforcement for 483. So, in other words, how also I have a question for you here. I mean, how so really so now we're gonna face the problem another way. We need to change the relation that I said in my previous videos of the problem. And one of the questions that we need to ask yourself as an organization is, how is your knowledge in quality management systems? That's the first one. Second one is, do your employees have the basic knowledge or quality management system? The third one, and I'm going to give you an example on this. When you implement a method of incident investigation, you train people who's going to be the leaders of the incident investigation, facilitators, in other words, who's, the, who's, who's going to master the incident investigation method. But also you need to train other people on the basic of the incident investigation methodology, because they need to understand the principles of that methodology in order to success on the investigations in the future. That's the type of training that you need to deliver as well. And that's one. And actually, they some of the steps actually, and I totally agree, and that you need to actually to how to answer these two questions. It's and I have comments actually on my previous videos. It's first, how you gonna establish product and process controls. So to in order to have high quality and product simplicity, it's very simple. So in this article on the product and on the tablets and capsules actually, and later I'm gonna share this presentation with you on my YouTube channel, and on my linking actually, that's Edgar, middle row, Fernandez, the presentation that I delivered to the London chapters, the ASQ and the PMI, on how to solve this. The first one is product and process controls. You need to insert, you need to start performing and conducting hazard and risk assessments, quality and hazard and risk assessments in your processes and products. And in this presentation, I show you how you can start actually. So you need to understand first, if you are developing the APIs, you need to understand, or you need to map the process from the beginning to the end. In other words, when you choose the reaction route, for example, and how you're going to be developing that text transfer uh, steps, right from the R&D to the commercial production, that is to the manufacturing, and what is the steps that you need to follow in order to develop your hazard and risk assessments to avoid any non-conformance on 483s. A strong operating structure. So exactly. So now, what's going to be your quality practices? Like I said before, on to start implementing the quality culture. Compliance actually is part of the quality culture, but it's not the other way, that compliance is your culture. So, in other words, compliance is going to prescribe actually what you need to do according to codes, regulations, and standards. But actually, your culture is going to be more about innovation, getting ideas and new ways to achieve quality in your organization. And also, it's going to depend on what's going to dictate also the market as well. Technology is another one. So it's very different, but compliance is actually is part of the quality culture, and capable investigation and campus procedure. So now as organization, you need to understand what we need to do and how we need to perceive CAPAs. So because normally we state on the corrective action, but we don't review the whole system to prevent the same issue in the other in the other aspects of your culture as well. Strong supplier controls. So how you gonna control your suppliers, how you gonna audit them as well. And the last one that says is a firm-wide culture of quality. Well, that's the reason of this video actually, is focus on that we need to start implementing the quality, and we need to start actually, the relation that you need to have actually with the problem is that is through innovation, is through not only through the technological advances, or the taking advantage of the technology, is taking advantage of the ideas of your people to fix or to find new solutions of to keep your quality culture in a good standing, and be an innovator with no conformances as well. I mean, the thing that I'm trying to say is, in order to prevent non-conformances, you need to establish a relationship with your people on the floor as well, and the other departments. So departments, they need to have an excellent relationship to find ideas to keep in compliance every time. That's the quality culture needs to. It's not having procedures, it's not developing procedures, that's compliance. But how you gonna achieve and adjust to the new challenges in the future is through ideas. And this is the essence of the article. And actually, they say also on this whether they have a three-part value proposition, and this is really interesting. So they say that the first one, it's a three-part value. It's you need to seek the best class, quality, most this as a core beliefs. So in other words, yeah, you need to have as a part of your organization. And I remember many years ago, that the culture, the quality systems or the quality cultures, they were based on like the house, right? Like the Gemba or the house, right? That they have the basis. You have safety, quality, and people. That are the three basic fundamentals of any company. But pretty much is that. And the second is recognizing that the compliance is essential. Absolutely, no doubt about it. I'm not saying that it's not. It's critical, absolutely. But you need to see it the other way. Quality is through ideas, through new ways to do things, to be in compliance, and that is compliance is gonna actually give the framework, the frame that you need to go according to standard regulations and codes. And the third is the urgency of this work. It means how you need to make a plan. Actually, you need to have a quality strategy to develop what is going to be your plan on the